Erika talks K-dramas, C-dramas, T-dramas, H-K-dramas. Erika talks K-dramas, J-dramas, Turkish dramas, Thai dramas. Do-do-do-do. Erika talks Egyptian dramas, Indian dramas, telenovelas, but mostly K-dramas. Okay, so here we are for the final 4 episodes for real this time for Padam Padam. That would be episodes 17 through 20. And I'll just say a few things before I start talking about episode 17 because I might forget later. When I watched this several years ago, I really liked it. And I rate all of the K-dramas that I watch. I don't have a specific rating system, but just how I feel they fall. It's a little bit difficult now because sometimes I'll look at the titles in the list and I'm like, I don't really remember that drama. So if you look at it the way it's ranked, I mean, I've added some titles, but the numbering has it at 127, which seems really low, but it's just that I tend to like dramas that I've seen even more. There have been some really spectacular ones, but I don't know if it really deserves to be that low in the ranking. I think it should be higher. I am enjoying this rewatch a lot. Yes, I'm stressed out over the scheduling issues with on-demand Korea, but I think this is a good exercise for me and I'm really enjoying it. And I might just keep rewatching the episodes whenever I catch them to keep practicing my Korean knowledge. And, you know, as I continue to study, hopefully my understanding will improve. One of the things when I studied to finish in our 3rd year, I think, or maybe it was the end of the 2nd year, our instructor had us do a kind of an oral test with a fellow student. So we were partnered up with people and we had to pretend that one of us had landed in the middle of Finland in like rural land. And we had to find out where we were, ask for help, and find a way back to a main city to get back home. And you had to do it all in Finnish. And so that was the test of how well we were really grasping the Finnish language. And I can say right now, I don't feel like I could do that in Korean at all, but I'm definitely understanding more. I'm putting things together, and the one problem with doing something like this is that it's keeping me from watching as many of the new K-dramas and movies that I want to watch. So I probably won't do this with another drama right away, but I do think it is a lot of fun to have a kind of a deep dive into a drama. So as this is ending, I just wanted to mention Han Ji-min, who starred as Ji-na, is going to have a K-drama released on August 12th in Korea on JTBC. And in some parts of the world, it will be available on Netflix. That'll be on August 12th, and it's called Behind Your Touch, or in Korea, Hamhake. And Jung Sung, who starred as Young Kang-chil, is going to be releasing his movie Bohoja, or A Man of Reason, on August 15th in South Korea, and I think it's slated for distribution in a bunch of other Asian countries and possibly the US as well. So keep your eyes peeled for that. And as I mentioned before, Kim Bom recently was in Tale of the Nine-Tailed 1938. So you can catch them all in current items, and I hope you enjoy. So episode 17 started off with Kang-chil and Ji-na still at the Winter Lodge, and she gets called away. And he's been struggling. He's been clearly struggling with this. They spend a wonderful night together. And he's clearly having a lot of pain, though. But he is hiding that from her. But she has an entire drawer set up by the bed for his medications and gives clear directions about what to do, when to do it, and all that sort of thing. And so she gets called away, and he rushes back, and he's crying. He's really sad. And he ends up packing up his stuff, including the medicines, and leaves. Actually, he leaves in her car because she got a taxi. So it's kind of weird that he's like cutting off contact with her. And but he brings her car back, and he's going to the town where they both live, and they're due to run into each other. And then not that much later, he ends up going to the vet clinic and talking to Dr. Kim and playing with Deng. So I don't know. I don't understand what exactly is going on there. I think that he's trying to protect her, but I also feel like this is a noble idiocy move, which is very common in dramas. And I don't know. There is a point later in the episode where he is in pain and slumped against a tree, and Ji-na comes upon him, and that's their first time seeing each other since he left her. Although it's probably only been a day. So they're both struggling with it. After he left that house, he goes back to his mother's house, and Guk-soo and Sung-yi are sleeping in the one room, and the mother was sleeping alone under this really cute blanket, kind of a wintry blanket. It's got reindeer, I think, on there. And he gets in there with her. He just starts crying, and she's patting his shoulder, and it's a really nice moment. Very sad. There's a lot of crying in these last few episodes, and it's very unusual to see. I think that you see men cry this often. It's not just him, because Guk-soo also cries. The father, Ji-na's father, doesn't really cry. Wow. He's going through stuff. I think he ends up having a change of heart in episode 17. I don't know exactly about what, because I don't understand the entire situation, but I do think he tries to sort of make amends and take blame for what he did and help clear Kang-chil to some degree with what happened in that restroom, and maybe with other things. I'm not sure. And what else has happened? Oh, Guk-soo gets it in his head to try to attack, I think it's some of those men who are related to the prosecutor. I can't remember if it was actually the prosecutor himself that he was going to attack. Anyway, he is not able to do that. When he tries to attack the guy, whoever it is, he goes through him like a ghost. And when he tries to fly, his wings kind of disintegrate. And later, when he's in, I don't know if it's Kang-chil's mother's house or if it's Kang-chil's sister's house, but the sister sees his shoulder blades, and it looks like the wings have withered on him, and there's like 2 or 3 very tiny feathers, but it's like it's been shriveled or something on him, and she's horrified, and he's just kind of in shock. So we'll see where that goes. Dr. Kim has basically been relegated to like a sounding board for Ji-na and for Kang-chil. So that's kind of funny. Other than that, well, I mean, there was a very nice night between Kang-chil and Ji-na back at the house that she had gotten and set up. And I don't know, he has all these bandages on him still from the wounds. So, but they drink wine together and whatever. And that's about it that I can remember. I might end up rewatching the episode, so maybe I'll have more to say after another rewatch. But we'll see. We might just move on to episode 18 after this. Oh no, there was a huge section. How could I have forgotten this? Because this was the moment that I was like, am I experiencing the Mandela effect? So in episode 17, Kang-chil and Ji-na go into a wedding store, and he tries on suits and she tries on gowns, and they keep saying no to everything, and they finally get kicked out. And it's kind of funny. I don't know if they really didn't like the clothing that they were wearing or if they were just kind of joking around, but it made the staff angry. It was cute. And she really looks beautiful as a bride. A couple more thoughts on episode 17. There's one scene towards the end where Guk-soo comes into the farmhouse and overturns a table. And I was like, that's right, Guk-soo. That's exactly how I feel. Because I think he's frustrated. Well, he's probably frustrated also because he tried to take out somebody and couldn't. But I think it's also because Kang-chil is not doing what would be good for Kang-chil. So I think he's frustrated about that. There are also a couple scenes in this episode where Kang-chil is sitting with somebody in a cafe and he ends up throwing water on them. I don't know if it's the same guy both times. That guy, the American guy, it could be both times. Anyway, it's just a little bit funny because I think there was an earlier episode where he did this at least once. So that makes a total of 3 times. So if I was meeting with Kang-chil, I'd be like, let's not have any drinks. Let's just have a dry meeting. There was also an attempt by Guk-soo to kill the stalker guy who was still in a coma in the hospital. He tells the nurse he'll handle whatever medication she's injecting into him. And I'm like, really? The nurse just lets him do it and leaves? And the weird thing is, so there's this monitor that has all the vitals and he turns off the monitor and there's like ominous music. It's like turning off the monitor doesn't do anything. It doesn't actually turn off the equipment, I don't think. And then he was going to do something with the medicine, but then the stalker guy's father comes running in. He's like, what are you doing? And so Guk-soo ends up leaving, not having murdered the guy, I think. But then when he's walking down the hallway, the father starts yelling. So I'm not sure what the end result is there. I think I know what happens in a future episode, but I don't want to mislead anybody because obviously I have like only a 5% idea of anything at any point. And yeah, I think those are all the salient points of episode 17. All right, I'm back with episode 18, which was a complete episode of noble idiocy on the part of Kang-chil, and it was full of sorrow and despair from all the other characters. It took me 3 tries to see it completely. The first time, I can't remember exactly what happened, but I ended up missing like the first 5 minutes. The second time, I knew when it was going to come on, and so I kept checking my phone, but I had to mow the backyard, and I had to completely do it because it was going to rain. I was like, I have to get this over with. So I did that, and then I ended up missing about half an hour of the show. So then just now, I rewatched the entire thing with Korean subtitles on Viki. So I did pick up some things that I hadn't picked up before. First of all, the son, Sung-yi, is actually called Jung-yi. I don't know. I don't know. So I apparently can't hear, in addition to not being able to understand anything. Well, that would kind of go together, but not entirely. And, I did forget to mention in episode 17, Kang-chil gives the chicks that he and Ji-na got away to the fish market neighbor woman. And she's all excited. She takes them off in a truck. I'm like, I hope she raises them and doesn't eat them, because that would be bad. Anyway, I don't think we ever find out what happens to them. So in episode 18, it's so weird because I just watched it. Now I can't remember how it begins. I think it begins in that nursing home. So Guk-soo had tried to murder the stalker guy, and he had turned off the monitor, and then I think he tries to suffocate him with a pillow or something. No, he was doing something with the medicine. I don't know. Anyway, he gets caught by the stalker guy's father, and so he leaves, and then the stalker guy's father starts yelling for him, and that's where it picks up. So he comes back, and the stalker guy is sort of stirring. I messaged a nursing friend of mine because I was like, turning off the monitor doesn't hurt the patient. They acted kind of like just turning off the monitor would do that in the last episode. And she's like, no, why are you asking? So it would keep the staff from knowing that his vitals had changed unless they were in the room and could see that it was affecting him in some way. So that could explain why no nurses came running or anything, but turning off the monitor itself doesn't directly hurt the patient. As it was like, okay, maybe they were playing the ominous music because of what he was going to do to the patients, whatever, but they acted like just turning off the monitor was going to affect him. The stalker guy isn't fully awake yet, but he is stirring. Then I think we go to Kang-chil in that farmhouse, and his mother shows up with some food, and so they're having a meal. And I think there's no real storage option in that house, and he doesn't stay there all the time anyway, so she stopped by with a meal. And then later in the episode, his sister stops by, and she's admiring the little figurines that he's carving. He's getting quite good at it. He has figurines for everybody. He's got his mother. He's got his sister with the baby on her back. There's a bride and groom, which is obviously him and Ji-na. So she's talking to him about that and everything. And I think everybody's kind of concerned. They do kind of want him to get back together with Ji-na because they know that would make him happy. They're also worried about his health. I believe everybody knows that he's sick. There's a scene where his mother is at the fish market and that neighbor woman gives her something wrapped in newspaper, and Kang-chil's mother gets all mad. And she says, or the neighbor woman says something about Kang-chil. So I don't know if it's because he'd given her the chicks or if she was just doing it because she knows that Kang-chil's mother is worried about him. Anyway, Kang-chil's mother was kind of upset. Ji-na's father is working with his partner and also Guksu to try to get a confession out of the stalker guy or some sort of information. I think to connect that prosecutor to the original crime where Ji-na's uncle was killed. And so Guksu takes them to the nursing home so they can see the patient. He can't quite communicate yet, but I don't think they want to give up just yet. There is a scene a bit later on. Well, I won't get to that yet. One second. So there is a scene where Kang-chil goes to Jung-gi's school and Jung-gi is eating lunch with that girl who likes him and that former bully. They're all friends now. And Kang-chil kind of jokes around with them. The girl, really likes him. And he gives some advice to the bully guy, something about with a woman, and then I didn't catch the rest of the sentence. But then later, Jung-gi repeats that back to him about Ji-na. So maybe I should have gone back and tried to figure out that whole sentence. Whatever. Anyway, Kang-chil kind of teases the bully guy. And so then he leaves with Jung-gi and they go to the bathhouse. I'm like, really? You had to pull him out of school for this? I don't know. So I would think there would be pretty open hours. I don't know. I mean, I know Kang-chil isn't working right now, but it seems kind of strange to pull the kid out of school for that. But whatever. I don't know. It's not me. So they do that. And then after they're walking away, Ji-na calls Kang-chil. She's gone to the farmhouse to see him. Everybody can walk into this house. I guess there are no locks or any sort of barriers whatsoever. Everybody just comes into his house, whatever they want. So Ji-na wanted to meet with him and he's like, no, go home. And hangs up on her. So then she tries calling Jung-gi. Oh, and I also forgot in episode 17, Jung-gi and Ji-na met up at a cafe or a restaurant, and he started calling her Ajima, and she was kind of taken aback because that means, an older woman that you don't really see as, young anymore. And she thought it was kind of funny, but he has her saved in his phone as Ajima. And so they got along, and I don't know what all they said, but I think they were kind of talking about becoming a family in that scene, sort of. I don't know. Anyway, so she calls Jung-gi because Kang-chil hung up on her. And Kang-chil grabs the phone and answers it. And he's like, just go home. And hangs up on her again. So she gets upset and she gets up and leaves. And Jung-gi kind of gets mad at his father and he's like, go and talk to her. And so finally Kang-chil goes, but not to the farmhouse. He goes to Ji-na's vet clinic house. And earlier she had been packing up her stuff from there. So I don't know if she was going to move away. I'm not really sure. Anyway, not all of the stuff is packed up. And I think she's still going to work there. And so he's sitting and waiting for her, and she comes in and sits down, and he's basically telling her to give up, to stop it. And she's trying to talk to him. I think she's kind of saying something like, I know you're in love with me, and why are you just doing this? We can get through this. And he says something about he doesn't have time and she knows that. And I think he says that he has to think about his son and mother. And so he storms off and she's yelling at him from inside the clinic house. And I think she's saying, I heard it. So I don't know exactly, but I'm sure, I don't know if she means like she heard his words before or she heard his heart respond to her, because it is called Padam Padam, the beating of his and her hearts. So maybe she heard how his heart beat around her. I don't know. So she's really upset, but he walks away. There was also a scene earlier where his mother, I think it was after she got mad at that neighbor woman, she comes at night and almost goes up to talk to Ji-na, but she ends up not doing it. After Kang-chil leaves Ji-na, he goes home to his mother's house, and Jung-hee and Kang-chil's mother are in the other room, the kind of kitchen room, I think, or that's also where she sleeps. So I don't know, but they're doing something with bean sprouts. Kang-chil goes into the cupboard. He's still got his winter coat on and everything, but he grabs out the bedding and puts it out and then puts the comforter over his head. And I just have to say, the comforter that you see in this episode several times, there's a point where Jung-hee is sleeping with it, and then one or two times where Kang-chil is sleeping with it. That is a really pretty comforter. It's got kind of a flowery, leafy design. I like it. It's not a thick comforter. It's very thin. Anyway, the show is not about the comforter. Sorry. So he's all, upset, and they kind of open the door. They open the sliding door and see him, and they're both worried, but Jung-hee is like, don't do anything, and so the mother doesn't do anything. There's a scene where Kang-chil and his mother are having lunch at her house, and she's trying to reason with him. I know at some point, I don't think she's involved with it, but somebody is told, Ji-na is eventually told that Kang-chil won't meet with the stalker guy, and they really want him to meet with him. Gina's father wants him to meet with him. I think Gina's father has really changed his attitude. He realizes that he's kind of messed up his relationship with Ji-na, and he really did do wrong to Kang-chil, who I think he realizes is a good person because he did save the father's life. So he's trying to make amends by getting them back together. So she tries to talk to Kang-chil again. So she shows up. Oh, wait, I've missed this whole section. 1 second. So Kang-chil and his mother are eating lunch, and his mother tries to talk to him, and he gets all upset. And the son, Jung-hee, was also eating with them. And Guk-soo comes in. Guk-soo had just met that American guy in the street, and he finds out something from this guy. Now, I'm not entirely sure. I still think there's a possibility that they were all upset because this American guy might be Jung-hee's actual father. But there's definitely upset because this guy wants to take Jung-hee to the United States. That I know for sure because I saw the text message that was sent to Jung-hee, or maybe I think it was a text message. And it was sent from an earlier episode, I believe. So the son gets all upset and leaves when they start talking about this. The mother is like freaking out. And that's why I think it could be that this American guy is the father. Maybe she didn't know that there was a possibility that Jung-hee might leave for the United States. So she's very upset. And Kang-chil's kind of yelling at her. And so Kang-chil's mother goes off into the kitchen and just starts wailing, and it switches back to him, and you can hear his mother wailing from the other room, and he starts yelling, and they don't even subtitle it. I don't know. I don't think he was singing. It wasn't singing really, but it was yelling. Anyway, it was very upsetting for both of them. And then at another point, it's just the two of them at home. I don't think it's right after that scene. I think it's another day. And so he and his mother are in the courtyard area, and they start arguing, and the mother goes back inside, And right then, Ji-na comes up. She's going up the hill and comes around. And so he's telling her to leave. And he goes inside. He doesn't want to talk to her. And right then, the mother comes back out. And she sees Ji-na. And so Gina's like, please, I need to talk to Kang-chil. And the mother's like, okay, he's in that room. And I don't know if she says, I'll be listening. I think that is what she says, but I'm not entirely sure. Anyway, she goes in, but she goes to, I think, the kitchen area again. Ji-na comes in and sits down with him and tries to talk to him. And he's just like, just leave. You know, he's not willing to open up. And she's arguing. And I think she is telling him, you know, please meet with that guy. And he's basically saying no. And it becomes more and more apparent, although she doesn't seem to notice because she's so upset anyway, that he is in a lot of pain. And he's not only upset about what they're talking about, but he's trying to hide the pain. And so it ends with her leaving the room, leaving the house, and he ends up kind of falling over in pain, and that's where the episode ends. So that was episode 18, and it's very interesting, very angst-ridden. So I will be watching episode 19 shortly. I'm going to be getting up very early in the morning to see it. So see you in a bit. Okay, episode 19. It picks up where 18 left off, with Ji-na talking with Kang-chil in his mother's house, and he's trying to hide how much pain he's in, and Ji-na's crying, and Ji-na finally leaves, and Kang-chil's mother is in the kitchen sobbing, and then she comes in and she ends up hugging him, and she's like, Jung-gi's going to the US, and then something about this woman. I think she's trying to say, you know, you could have this woman around, and you were in jail for 16 years, and, you know, you deserve something good. This isn't fair. I don't know. I'm guessing that's a lot of what she said. And then we see Guk-soo is with the sister out on a bench in the dark by the sea, sort of. And the sister is like, are you really going to Seoul? And he's like, yeah. And she asks him to marry her. I think he basically turns her down. I'm not sure exactly what's going on, because he's pretty much staying at her house most of the time. But you don't see anything where they're like very romantic with each other anymore. Just those first couple kisses, which weren't really romantic. So, I don't know. Then we see Kang-chil's mother takes Jung-gi to a phone store to buy a store for when he goes to the US. And he's like, don't buy anything. I'm not going to the US. And he walks out. And she ends up buying a phone anyway. Kang-chil was packing for Jung-gi. And Guk-soo also gets his stuff together. And so Jung-gi and Guk-soo go with, I think, the sister to the airport. And Jung-gi meets up with that guy from America and goes off with him. What else is happening? Oh, so that slick guy who was hired by the prosecutor, he had been arrested. The prosecutor guy got him out. The other prosecutor, the older one with kind of crazy hair, I don't think I've ever really described him before, but he's there. At some point during one of the investigation thingies, he whips out a gun, and I'm like, are prosecutors allowed to carry a gun there? What the heck? Because he's not with the police. He's definitely with like lawyers' offices or something. So that was kind of weird. Oh, and in the previous episode, the prosecutor guy, the one who had framed Kang-chil, I guess he's the son of this older man who's in the office, and his father is packing up all his stuff and retiring, I guess. And he was begging his father not to do it, and his father insisted on doing it anyway. So the prosecutor guy is losing the support he had. I think he realizes the tide is turning. Anyway, he does manage to get the slick guy out, but I think he's like, this is the last time. The older prosecutor guy with the crazy hair, he's all mad. He goes and tells Ji-na's father and his partner what happened. And so they're like, oh no. And now this is where I just watched this episode this morning and I can't remember all. I believe this is where Kang-chil finally goes and talks to the stalker guy. Because he's fully awake now and he can communicate. And so I think everybody's kind of like, everything's not going the way they want it to, but it's still kind of heading that way. They keep showing Ji-na. I think it was like in the past couple episodes, there have been a couple clips of her taking care of Dang. So she was like drying him off after a bath. She was clipping his claws. And then in this episode, she's kind of training him to make sure that he doesn't eat before he's given the command that he can. And she's talking with Dr. Kim. So again, they don't seem to be getting very much work done. And Kang-chil is really struggling with everything. Like, I think he knows it's possible his name will get cleared. His health isn't really great. I mean, it looks like he's going to die. And his son just went off, and Guksu's gone now too. He's driving down the road in the blue truck, and I'm like, is this a good idea? Oh yeah, and he's crying while he's driving, and I'm like, this is so dangerous. And he sees Ji-na by the road picking up litter, and he drives past her. He notices her, she notices him, and he ends up doing a U-turn and coming around and talking to her. And I think he sets up for them to meet later. And so she ends up going to that farmhouse that he sometimes lives in. And she's looking at the figures that he's been carving, which, again, they're looking really good. And she's kind of playing with the bride and groom ones and making them kiss. And then he comes in and says something to her. And she gets up and runs to him and jumps up into his arms. And then they make love. You don't really see anything. You just see after where they're holding each other. And he starts talking, and it's obviously some deep conversation, and I'm not understanding very much about it. And I think he's talking about how he's going to die. And so she starts crying, and he starts crying, and I'm like, wow, way to kill the mood, Kang-chil. And that's the end of the episode. I must have missed something in there, though. That doesn't seem like the whole episode. I just don't know. Yeah, I can't remember anything else at the moment. But if I do, when episode 20 comes through, I'll let you know. So, see you in a while. Okay, episode 20. So, it looks like we jump ahead a little bit. Guksu has stayed in Tongyong, or that area, with the sister. And he's working on a construction site. And he's also hanging out with Kang-chil's mother. Kang-chil proposes to Ji-na on a road or a bridge with some wooden rings. And so they put them on. They, I think, go off to live at that house with the unusually shaped windows. I think that's near in Yangyang, because when they went on vacation there before, you saw the Yangyang airport. So that's on the eastern coast of South Korea, kind of like mid South Korea, whereas Cheongnyong is down in South Korea, I mean, like in the very south coast of Korea. So they're hanging out. He's doing handiwork, doing work on people's houses and stuff, while she takes care of animals. It looks like he's built some more bridges. There's a bridge that definitely isn't that one that's over by his house in the countryside in Cheongyang. And Gina's filling up one of the containers with food and sees a rabbit and gives the rabbit food. And Kang-chil is also doing handiwork around the house. He's working under the sink. And he's having a kind of a difficult time. He's kind of sweaty, and she asks him, is it difficult or something like that? And he ends up snapping at her. And then he stops himself. And she knows this is out of character for him too. I don't know if it's right after that or if it's just another day, but he does end up feverish in bed. So she rushes to take care of him with some ice. So he's clearly getting worse, but he's trying to do what he can. And he says that he really misses Jung-hee, and they end up doing a video call on the phone with Jung-hee. Well, he does the video call. And it's funny because he's like all excited, and then he puts on a hat and a flannel shirt, and I'm like, you were already fully dressed. I don't know why you put a hat on inside the house. Whatever. Anyway, So he does that, and they talk and they miss each other, and so that's kind of nice. He calls Guksu, and I think more time has passed, and he's weakening, and he's wrapped up in a plaid blanket. And while he's on the phone with Guksu, he's reminiscing about stuff, and you see flashbacks to things in the previous episodes. He's kind of gazing up at the sunlight coming through the window, and he looks a little bit out of it. And then the scene ends. And the discussion that he's having with Guksu, it really sounds like Kang-chil's coming towards the end of his life, but of course I'm understanding very little. And so then it cuts to winter season. So it's at least a year since the previous episode. Ji-na is typing at a computer and kind of narrating where everybody's at in their lives. So she talks about Guksu and mother and everything. Oh, there was also a part early on before they go to Yangyang where Kang-chil's mother ends up going to Ji-na and kind of giving her blessing. And then you see Kang-chil proposing to Ji-na. So Ji-na is describing what's all happening, and I can't remember what the difference is. Like, it's just more events about what's, like Guksu's helping the mother at the market, the fish market. He's keeping her, he's like trying to part her because she's in a fight with that neighbor woman again, like an actual physical struggle over something. You don't see the sister or the baby anymore at this point. And you're really left thinking that Kang-chil died. And she's got a photograph from back when she got him all dressed up after he got out of the hospital. And it's the two of them posed together. So since that's what they're showing, I'm guessing they never actually had a formal marriage because, I mean, he proposed to her with the rings, but there's no wedding photo that you can see unless I missed it, and I don't think I did. And then when I was just like, wow, Kang-chil died? I don't remember that from the previous viewing. And he comes running in and he's all excited. And so they go off in the car and they're sitting and sipping hot drinks. And then he wants to go and I guess run in the snow. And so they do that. And then he's got this blanket wrapped around him. And then he opens it up and he's flashing her. He's like turning around and stuff. And so they're happy, they're in love, and they're having fun. And it seems like he actually got a miracle where his health got better. So that was episode 20. And I might give it a day or two and then try to rewatch some stuff with English subtitles and try to reassess what I understood correctly and what I didn't. Also do some research about the casting and whatnot for the other characters. I know the actress who played Kang-chil's mother was in a movie that was listed on a cinema website as one of the, I don't know if it was one of the 250 audience approved or audience chosen Korean movies. So I might mention that because it sounded like an interesting movie that I think I'd like to see. Another very important part of episode 20, which I can't believe I forgot to mention, was Kang-chil decides to treat his mother to a kind of a vacation together. I think because he's dying, and I think because he and Ji-na are going to be moving away. I don't know if at that point they knew that he was going to be moving away. I think not, because, well, anyway, I would have to rewatch, and I'm probably going to rewatch it with subtitles, but so he's shown looking up stuff on his sister's computer about hotel rooms, and he chooses, I think it's the Queen Suite or something like that. And so they go off in his truck, him and his mother, and the truck encounters trouble, so they have to stop it. He gets under the front and is fixing it. And then I don't know if the mother just assumes that he didn't fix it or if he acts like he didn't fix it, but it's a little bit unclear. He gets back into the vehicle and she thinks that she has to push it. Now she's dressed in a dress, so he lets her try a few times to push the truck and she can't really get anything done. And then he like starts up the truck or whatever, and she's like, and she's kind of huffy, and she gets back in the truck, and she had brought kind of typical snacks for Korean trips for especially older people, I think. I think she had some boiled eggs, hard boiled eggs, and steamed potatoes. I don't know if they were sweet potatoes or regular potatoes again, but I don't know, whatever, it doesn't matter. And so they head off to the hotel. She's really like, wow, because the lobby is really gigantic and you can see all the floors from the inside. And so then they go to a nice restaurant and she's very nervous. He has to order from the menu. He just is like, we'll take this. And his mother's like, what did you order? He says, I don't know. So they get something, it looks like beef and there might be a little bit of seafood on the side, I'm not sure. And she refuses to eat it. He cuts up her meat for her. She at first refuses to eat it, but then she tries it and she likes it. So they have a nice dinner. And then it shows them back in their hotel room. He's in a robe. And she's still, I think, in her dress. I don't think she's comfortable this whole trip. And they've got strawberries on the table in a tray. And then they have red wine. And I was like, I don't know if that was meant to show that neither of them really knew what you're supposed to drink with strawberries. But I think it's normally champagne or some sort of white wine. But anyway, they had that. And they weren't really eating them either. He had his guitar with him and they kind of sing a bit. They both end up crying and holding each other. And then he ends up going to bed. It's so funny because I think the trip was really to pamper her and she was like not allowing it. So he was asleep in the bed and she comes in with her coat on and everything. She sends him a note, not even by taking a hotel pad and pen and writing a note for him. She texts him. She can see that his phone lights up on the table across. And so she leaves and he reads it in the morning. And I, of course, didn't understand much of what it said. So then the next scene, you see her in his truck with the sister. It's like, well, how did the mother even get back home? Anyway, and how did they get the truck? Whatever. I guess it's a cut of time. That was that. It was a nice thing, the way they interact. That was really sweet. So those were episodes 17 through 20. And that was the end of Padam Padam. I have already recorded the 13th episode of the podcast, which is supposed to be the wrap up for Padam Padam. And if you listen to that episode, you will see how that went awry because of current events and also me not being able to find my summary notes from when I did the rewatch with the English subtitles. And since I've already processed that episode, I don't want to go back in and re-edit and have to reprocess it again. But I thought of some additional things that I wanted to say about the show. If you listen to the 13th episode first, and I think there's no problem with doing that, you'll see I am very upset about something that has happened with the lead actor from the show. As I was reflecting on Padam Padam, I remembered some additional things, which I think are relevant to what's happening to the actor Jung Sung right now. Young Kang-chil's mother, at one point, that scene where he's in the countryside working on those bridges for the animals, and his mother comes and is kind of nagging him or whatever, and she gives him fruit. And they have this discussion, and I remember her saying something about, nobody likes you. I don't even like you, or something along those lines. It was interesting. That really struck me because, obviously he was an accused murderer, and most of the people thought that he was a criminal, and he wasn't. And he was sort of grumpy, but I don't think he was grumpy in an all-around bad way. Just different ways of being grumpy. And I think his way was okay. Like, I could be around a person like that and it would be fine. He spent his time in prison, the 16 years, getting all those certificates, becoming really knowledgeable about all these different crafts. And he stood up for people who were being bullied in the prison, which is huge. He saved Guksu, and that's how they became friends. He saved that other guy in the first episode. So he was a good person. It was just funny that his mother was like, people don't like men like you, or, they don't love men like you, or something like that. And, the whole time I've been raging during these episodes about Gina's father and how awful and violent he is. And it does come out with English subtitles that, yeah, the pharmacist is trying to date Gina's father. And it's like, are you kidding me? He's coming in all the time for the hangover cure drink. And I think it's a kind of a small enough world where she must be aware of how violent this guy is. And I'm like, why does she want to date this guy? Oh, so terrible. And then some of what you find out about Dr. Kim, who was Gina's ex-boyfriend. And I can't remember now. I think she had wanted to get married and he didn't want to get married. And he had been cheating on her, possibly more than once. Her father kept urging her to get back together with him. He kept urging Dr. Kim to get back together with her. And there were indications that if they had gotten back together, he would have continued cheating. And now he wanted to marry her, I think. It was just like, what the heck? I don't know. I just don't understand. I mean, we don't have many other examples of men in the town, but of Dr. Kim and Gina's father and Kang-chil as examples, absolutely Kang-chil all the way. The other two, hell no. My God. Anyway, so it started making me think because I say some things in episode 13 about the current scandal. I just think it would be fair to kind of say what I think about Jung Sung. I mean, I do talk a little bit about what a great actor I think he is, and I did like the film that he directed. And so I'm going to talk a bit about his life. It's not a comprehensive biography or anything. Talk about how I feel that it relates. Padam, padam. So he came from a very, very poor family. I don't know that much about it because, again, I don't read that many interviews or watch that many interviews. But from my understanding, they were dirt poor. There was something about they had nothing. And he ended up dropping out in, I think it was the second year of high school. So probably about the age when you're allowed to drop out of high school in the US. They tried to convince him not to do that. He insisted. He wanted to leave school to get a job to help out the family. And he once told a story, and I allude to that in the episode 13, and where when he was young, he told a lie to his mother. And she found out he was lying. And I think she like chased him around to hit him, like with a switch or something. I'm not sure about those details. But anyway, she got very angry. And she said, if you lie to me, how do I know what's the truth? And that really struck me. I feel, and I say this again in episode 13, I feel he's always been very sincere and earnest in what he says. Other actors and directors have talked about how he will try to urge people to use their position, use their wealth to help out people in various ways. Of course, with his work with refugees and his donations to various causes. And he's narrated a couple documentaries about very serious topics, more than a couple documentaries, actually. It's just, he seems to follow through with what he says. And he goes to a lot of these, not sure what the exact term is, but it's like a fan greeting event or something for movies. And he'll go to panels where they talk about movies and TV shows and things. And for 12/12 the Day, which was a wonderful movie, they had so many fan greetings because it was very popular. And so I think altogether there was like 260 of them or something, space a month. So he was doing multiple ones in a day. He was the only cast member to go to every single one of these. I think, and I could be wrong, but I think even the director had to miss at least one because he was sick. I'm not entirely sure. It was like real dedication because that was an everyday thing. And it wouldn't always be panels where they talk for really long times, I don't think. But, to give that much time into talking about the movie and what it meant and how he saw his character and the story and everything. And I mean, that's real dedication, very serious dedication. And in some of these fan events, not necessarily from that movie, but from other ones, he was so kind. Like there would be elderly people and he would help them with their phone and make sure that they could get a picture and that sort of thing. Some of the rumors that are swirling around, the initial story has been confirmed as true, but the rumors afterwards, I just find it so hard to believe. And I could be wrong. I mean, people make mistakes. Maybe he's not entirely. I mean, people have different sides. They're not always the way you see them in one moment. But I just really find it hard to believe that he would play with people's hearts like that. And I don't mean the fans' hearts. I mean these people that he knew in real life. And I don't know. That's part of the reason why I feel like he should release a statement directly from himself, seeing where he's coming from on this and explaining that. And I also thought, like Kang-chil, people were always kind of basing their opinion on their impression of him, kind of an outward appearance type thing. And one of the things that you would very quickly learn in anything to do with Jung Song, it's usually mentioned in interviews, is that he is very handsome. If you have eyes, you can see that for yourself. But people comment on it all the time. I would think it would be very uncomfortable in a way to deal with. And I think he found a way over the years to deal with that. But I think also it causes people to treat you a certain way, perceive you in a certain way, and maybe it changed the way he thought about himself, his worth, or what he would mean to the world. Maybe, I don't know. It's me projecting, I guess, or assuming, but I'm just wondering if he has insecurities. He doesn't have to say anything. I don't know. But does he have insecurity? I don't know. But I do remember another story that he told somewhere about how when he was, younger, he didn't have very much money. He would have part-time jobs, but he was probably using it to help his family, and so he didn't have any money when he was taking girls out. So usually the girls would end up paying, and then I guess they would dump him because he never had money. And now he is known for treating people to meals. Like there was at least one time, when he paid some strangers bills at a restaurant. And he's known for treating the cast and crew to a meal and that sort of thing. And he's also, well, there was another story about kind of early on in his career, he would just kind of show up to set and be quiet, and he and Lee Jung-jae, sorry, became friends because the other guys just wanted to talk about girls and stuff, and Jung Sung instead wanted to talk about movies, so they really bonded over that. And I don't know, there were some other comments around that. And now I guess he's known for making jokes, playing pranks, that sort of thing, trying to make everybody comfortable. And so I don't know. Again, me projecting, I shouldn't be speculating or anything, but I just wonder if the him that we see doing all these things is worried that he'll be abandoned because of how people see him, like just a handsome shell or somebody who can pay for their meal or whatever. I have no idea. And somehow that just, it was like, he's very different from Kang-chil, and yet I think it's very much the same. And so it's not like he's gonna ever hear this, but I just want to say to him, 정우성 배우님, 힘내요, 힘내세요. And also, this occurred to me, it seems very trite in a way, but I think this is good to say to everybody. Everybody should know This is a phrase that one of my religion teachers would make us repeat. And I cannot for the life of me remember the last name of the teacher, except I think it began with an AU. He taught us to say, I am a unique child of God, full of potential. And I think everybody is like that. I mean, you look at Kang-chil, he was stuck in prison wrongly. He had been abandoned by his friends, abandoned by his family. Remember, they didn't visit him when he was in prison. He was in love with that girl from high school who it turned out had, I think, two-timed him with that guy. Oh, yeah, that was another thing that I found out from the subtitles. So that guy from the US, she had slept with both Kang-chil and that guy was the actual father of Sung or Jung. Darn it, I forgot his name again. Anyway, the son. And it was just, I completely lost my train of thought because I forgot the son's name. Oh my goodness. Okay. And it just, okay. So Kang-chil, took what he had and used his time to learn stuff so that he could improve his life later. And he did. When he got out, he wasn't on good terms with his mother, but he took care of her house and he was working hard and he helped Guksu, even though he tried to get rid of Guksu. And, he helped Ji-na, and he was doing all that work in the town that they ended up moving to, and everything is just, and he really did try to improve himself. He had to work through and learn how to accept help from people. So I think Kang-chil is a great example of using the potential that you have. And even when your life is under threat, when life is under unfair, you keep going and you keep doing good things. It's not my place to make a statement to Jung Il-sung, but, he is a shining example of doing good in the world. And we know from the initial scandal, mistakes have been made, but I don't know about all these rumors. Possibly, well, it's not really our business, but even if further mistakes were made, and I'm sure they were, or in some respect, even mistakes that we'll never find out about. I mean, he's 51 years old. He's lived an amazing life. Even with those mistakes, there's always a chance to make things right. So I hope that he's able to do something with this and get things back on track. Anyway, those are my thoughts. I've rambled on enough about it. Yeah. So that was Padam Padam. And now I need to get serious about doing my Mandarin recordings, which I mentioned at the beginning of episode 13. And it's been a couple days and I still haven't done them. So I need to get on that. And I have plans to make candied yams today. It's my attempt to get it right this time. So I wish everybody a happy Thanksgiving. And I will see you next time, hopefully. Hopefully I haven't bored you with my ramblings. And have a good day. Erika talks K-dramas, C-dramas, T-dramas, HK-dramas. Erika talks K-dramas, J-dramas, Turkish dramas, Thai dramas, but mostly K-dramas. Erika talks Egyptian dramas, Indian dramas, telenovelas, but mostly K-dramas. Do 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 do.